Hey guys. Okay, it's Miss Weems. We're gonna do one more set of notes, the last one for 2020 school year. Okay. All right. So, mood disorders. So, a mood disorder is when a person's mood does not reflect their environment. They may have a mood disorder. So, I'm talking about feeling sad when everything's going great, or feeling extremely happy when there's really no reason for the extreme happiness. So there's two categories for mood disorders. You have the different forms of depression, which is characterized by feelings of helplessness, guilt, feeling worthless, and bipolar disorder. So bipolar would be involves a cycle of mood changes from depression to what's called mania, which is super happy on like a whole other level of happy, and back again. So when we're talking about mania, we're talking about extreme happiness, massive self-esteem boost. Your thoughts are racing all over the place, and I'll get into the details of the different types of bipolar disorder in a minute. Okay, postpartum depression is a form of depression, but it specifically affects women, and it's sometimes experienced after women give birth. They often feel really hopeless and feel as if they're a horrible parent. Usually comes with the hormone surges of your body trying to come back to a normal state after having a baby. Okay. Also, with depression, you have seasonal affective disorder, which is a form of depression. But this one, the person's moods are linked to changes in the weather. So during the winter, they experience a loss of energy and sometimes depression. And that is relieved during spring and summer when there's more sun, when they experience more sun and are able to reduce their feelings of lethargy and depression. Okay, so what causes mood disorders? Some psychologists believe that depression is caused by just a great loss that people cannot overcome. Some people believe people learn to be helpless. So I can't fix this, so why bother trying? And they just sit in the misery. Um, so remember we kind of talked about the electrocuted dogs? They were just when we talked about unethical experiments, they locked them in the cage and electrocuted them over and over again, and the dogs got depressed so that even when they opened the door to the cage, the dog didn't bother even trying to get out. They just laid there and accepted their misery. There's also a genetic link to mood disorders. We know that bipolar can run in families or be caused by something not being right with the genes firing. We also know that depression or a tendency towards depression and anxiety can also run in families. Okay. Schizophrenia is another mood disorder. So this is another category of mood disorders. So schizophrenia is a very serious psychological disorder that is characterized by people losing touch with reality, and they have their perception of the world around them, their thinkings, their emotions and behaviors have all been impacted by this disorder. Okay, so hallucinations are the voices telling them. So they experience hallucinations. So they hear voices telling them what to do. They see things that aren't there. They hear things that aren't actually being said. Delusional behavior is believing things that it makes no sense to believe. Okay, like if Miss Williams believed that she was the princess of China, that would be delusional. Okay. Schizophrenia usually comes on around 18 for men and um, the 20s for women, early 20s. So that's if it hasn't appeared there, it usually people don't have it. It's extremely rare for someone to develop it later in life. Um, the delusional behaviors can be of grandeur, so I am Miss America, I am the Princess of China, or it could be believed that they are being persecuted, believing that everyone's out to get me, that they're being chased, that they're being harassed when no one's out to get them. Or they could even believe that they don't exist at all, that they're not real. Okay, so there's a couple different types of schizophrenia. We're only going to talk about a few of them. Um, Paranoid schizophrenia is when patients, their delusions and hallucinations seem to center around everyone is out to get them. Okay. And the auditory hallucinations and the delusions don't really seem to give them a break. and they all are focused around the theme that people are out to get them. Disorganized schizophrenia is when their thoughts, speeches, and behavior are disorganized and their delusions and hallucinations are random. There's no central theme. So they could go 1 minute to thinking they're Miss America, and the next minute they start talking about this movie they saw when they were 5 with their grandma, and then they'll start saying how they always wanted to be a painter, and it just kind of jumps around. They tend to also either not express emotion at all or have really inappropriate emotions. So they could be giddy and laughing all the time or just nothing whatsoever. And finally, catatonic schizophrenia is these are when their movements are impacted by this disorder. So their activity can slow really dramatically where they're like barely moving, barely doing anything. And then all of a sudden it could switch and they're running around the room and really agitated and jerky and running all over the place. And then they'll stop and hold themselves in a really strange, extremely uncomfortable position. And they'll stay that way for hours. So if you guys think about any time where you've like sat on your foot and it fell asleep and you had to tingle around because the pins and needles sensation's really uncomfortable, they kind of ignore that and they will sit in very odd positions for hours and they won't move at all. All right, so what causes schizophrenia? To be honest with you, long and the short of it, we don't know. There are elements that we do know. Your environment puts people at risk. If they're in a very hectic, stressful environment where emotions are kind of all over the place, it puts people at risk for schizophrenia. A loss of connections in the brain. There's also a genetic, hereditary point, complications during pregnancy. People who were born in the winter have a higher rate of schizophrenia. We don't know why. Also, we know that having too much dopamine in your brain, which is a neurotransmitter that helps you experience happiness, too much dopamine is linked to schizophrenia. So people put in really stressful, isolating situations can have sometimes schizophrenic breaks. So we're not sure exactly what the cause is. We just know that some people are maybe genetically predisposed and then their environment causes them to experience it. Okay, so let's talk about personality disorders. So psychological disorders are disorders that somebody experiences, but it's not who they are. You know, someone could have depression, but it's not who they are. It's not their day-to-day. It's not, how do I explain this? It doesn't make up their personality. It's not, oh, they're funny or they're sarcastic or they're, you know, they really care about other people and they do all this charity work and they're really funny and they do all this stuff and they also have to battle depression. Personality disorders, this is who you are. Okay, personality disorders are your personality. It's not a separate episode. Like depression is something you deal with and have to fight through, but it's not who you are. A personality disorder impacts who you are. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of them. Antisocial personality disorders. All right, when most people say someone is antisocial, they are using it wrong. Someone antisocial would be what you guys would think of as a psychopath. Okay? They don't care about what anybody else's rights are. They don't care about your safety or protection. And they don't feel bad ever if they hurt somebody's feelings or do the wrong thing. And even if they're punished, they really don't care. So antisocial is what you guys would think of as a sociopath or a psychopath. It's not someone who doesn't have a lot of friends. It's not the same thing. Histrionic personality disorder. This person is overly emotional, super dramatic, constantly needs to be the center of attention. And they are easily influenced by others because they want people's approval. They want to be the center of attention. They cannot stand failure and they need everybody else's approval. So histrionic is, you want to think of the most overly dramatic person you've ever met, knock it up a couple notches, make it even more intense, but think that they want everybody to love them because they want to be the center of attention. Over here, we got narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, just to give you a little bit of a history lesson here, Narcissus is a character in a Greek myth who thought he was so in love with his own image that he saw his reflection in a river, and when he bent down to get even closer to it because he was so gorgeous and he wanted to look at himself some more, he accidentally drowned. Okay, so narcissistic people are all about themselves. Okay, they believe they deserve excessive admiration. They are just the greatest thing that ever occurred. They are preoccupied with their own success, power, and beauty because they're so awesome. And they're not really sympathetic or empathetic towards anybody else. They're often exploiting other people for their own needs because they just, it's all about me. Not the same as this one. This one is almost hurting people for their own personal joy. This is more, it's all about me. And if somebody gets hurt or I have to use someone to promote my own awesomeness, that's okay because I'm so great. They don't think they're great. They just really don't care about anybody else and they want them to. And if they hurt somebody else, they don't really care. This is all about me. Okay. Schizoid is what most people every day are actually talking about when they say antisocial. Schizoid personality, they don't have a lot of interest in relationships with other people. They don't become attached to other people. Spending time with other people seems really pointless. So these people would not have a close relationship with mom and dad or grandma or anybody like that. Who cares? They don't have a bestie. They're just not interested in other people. They're not trying to hurt anybody. They're just not interested in them. All right, so I am going to put Flipgrid videos up. And I want you guys to diagnose the last two characters with a disorder. I want you guys to know that I'm thinking about you, that I'm worried about you, and that I hope you all are safe. And I know with everything going on, these little assignments are like the last thing that's really important. And you're right, they're not in the grand scheme of things. But I hope that this class helps you figure out and understand how to interact with other people and why some people act the way they do. And it'll help you in your life going forward. I hope you are safe and know that I'm thinking about you guys all the time. Bye.